crossed a quiet threshold line, your trembling fingers clasped in mine. Moved by the spirit here tonight, we stand between the dark and light.
When I learned that Tiran al-Qarn was dead, I mourned his passing. Within the framework of his nation and society, the way he treated me was unique. He accorded me more respect than any woman in Izalunder could expect. In the privacy of our rooms, he spoke with me as an intellectual equal. At night, he desired nothing more than to hold and be held. I should have hated him for forcing me to marry him, for keeping me, for accepting his nephew's kidnapping of me. Yet during the months we spent together, he treated me in nearly every way as the most precious person in his life. Despite the unorthodox manner in which he brought me into his household, I mourned his death. He possessed a brilliant mind. He also ensured that I would not be left fallow, the Zalundi expression for a woman who has lost her male protector. He saw that I discovered my true destiny, and in retrospect, I cannot begrudge him the 6 months we shared. Kestrel Tahir Karnan, Collected Essays, Women of the Project.
Her lower lip trembled briefly, her eyes moist, searching his, as if she was holding back tears while trying to read his thoughts. The exchange lasted only moments, but to Bo, it felt like nearing the end of a marathon, finish line in sight, uncertain whether he had the stamina left to reach it. Then her hand closed around his. The warmth of her touch, the quiet acceptance in it, felt like winning the marathon, breaking the tape, victorious. The jolt of that physical contact raced through his body. He turned, her hand secure in his, and left the office with her. Nico and Kenzie stood waiting in the wide hall. Bo followed the other couple through the temple's impressive spaces, his focus fixed on Emerald Zakarian. The warm clasp of her fingers, the sway of her hips beside him, the subtle lure of her scent, those were the only things he registered. He glanced at Emerald, intrigued by how close she stood to his own height. The thought slid through him, wondering if they would fit together as perfectly as his senses insisted. His imagination had just begun to trace that possibility when Nico's voice cut through it, jerking him back to the present and shattering the sensual imagery forming in his mind.
"This is the seclusion suite,"
Nico said.
"If you know within the hour that you are not right for each other, step outside. The acolyte will guide you back to my office."
He gestured to the silent, robed figure holding the door open. Nico moved closer. His eyes met Bo's.
"Take care, Bo Amador. You must be certain before you consummate your union. There is no going back once you have claimed Emerald."
Moments later, they were alone in a beautifully decorated room. He felt as if impressions assaulted him from all sides, the beautiful surroundings, the sights, smells and sounds that went with them, coupled with the dynamic sensory overload of the woman who had promised to marry him. The swiftness with which they had been sent to this seclusion suite felt utterly alien to him. He would have preferred to get to know her better. Emerald released his hand and crossed to a beautifully made wooden table, its craftsmanship as deliberate as everything else in the room. An open bottle of wine rested in a bucket of ice beside 2 waiting glasses. She poured without hesitation and brought one to him. He accepted it, Nico's warning still threading through his thoughts. Instead of voicing the uncertainty tightening in his chest, he lifted the glass and drank. The flavor unfolded across his tongue, rich and layered, drawing a quiet reaction from him before he could stop it. When he looked up, Emerald was watching. Her grin held a spark of satisfaction, as if she had known exactly how he would respond.
"Emerald,"
he began.
"it's important to me that you know I haven't lied to you or said anything because someone else told me to. I never in my life believed in the idea of love at first sight, but now I do. If you don't wish to be with me, to explore this glorious connection, you should go back to Nico."
He held his breath. Every instinct in him demanded that he reach for her and refuse the possibility of loss. Instead, he remained still and let the space exist between them. If she turned toward the door, he would not stop her. He knew, with a quiet certainty that settled in his gut, that this was it. If she walked away, he would never know what it felt like to belong to anyone the way he already longed to belong to her.
"I did not think that you were lying to me, Bo. I was concerned that my father was trying to manipulate circumstances. He and my mother have been very worried about me over the years. I was convinced that they brought you here to try to see if you would see my aura.
Something convinced you otherwise.
He guessed.
Reardon. He did not think anyone would see my aura.
He remembered.
It seemed like Reardon did think that. I couldn't believe it, though. Why would he doubt it?
She led him to a plush love seat and waited until they were seated before she spoke.
I begin to believe you truly think I am beautiful.
She lifted her wine, studying the surface before taking a slow sip.
I have lived my entire life knowing that I am too tall and too thin. No one in my family, with the exception of my mother, has ever seen me as beautiful. I have always been awkward, Emerald.
She turned her face slightly away.
About the only other relative who is equally awkward is my sister Miracle. But unlike me, she is going to be a stunningly beautiful woman when she grows up.
Your sister?
He asked.
Miracle. She will turn 17 on Father's birthday.
What makes her awkward?
He asked. The conversation about her sister eased something in him. The tightness in his chest loosened as she spoke.
She was premature, barely the size of my father's hand when she was born. She lacks coordination.
She sighed.
At least she is beautiful, unlike me.
You are beautiful, exquisite. I am tantalized by the possibility that you might be willing to have me in your life permanently. I am nothing but a lanky, gawky, geeky man.
You said something like that before.
She said, her tone curious.
But you are like my relatives, handsome, sure of yourself. You embody everything I have come to consider attractive. You are everything I have ever wanted in the man whose soul I would someday keep.
Your cousin Nico seemed to think we needed to make a decision right away.
He said. The word decision lingered between them. He knew what he wanted. He did not trust himself to name it without frightening her. She smiled at him. The nearly black irises of her eyes seemed alive with the fire of her personality.
Nico knew that it would be impossible for you to be alone with me for any length of time without the two of us jumping into bed.
She said. Mischief flickered across her face. Desire tightened low in his body. He wanted to possess her, more than he had ever wanted any other woman.
So, the decision he wants us to make is whether or not to make love.
He needed to be certain. One misstep could cost him everything. She slowly shook her head.
No, Bo. He wanted the two of us to be certain we are willing to spend forever with each other. If we make love, we are committing to one another for all of this life, and after this life in Torrizon.
Only then did he notice the luxurious bed set to one side of the room. He rose to his feet. Emerald rose with him.
There is no way I'll ever reject you, Emerald. I want to bind myself to you indelibly. If you don't wish to be with me, you must tell me.
He held his breath. If she left, it would break him. The small smile on her mouth revealed nothing. When she turned and walked away, despair dropped through him, flaring into heat as she moved toward the bed instead of the door leading out of the suite. He followed her as if pulled. At the bedside, she untied the heavy braided rope that held a tapestry to one side, closing the bedchamber off from the rest of the suite. In moments, another tapestry swished down, shutting out the slanting light of the afternoon sun pouring through a wall of windows he had not even noticed. She approached him, and he could barely make out her features in the darkness of the room. When she halted in front of him, he did what he had been yearning to do from the beginning. He closed the distance and pulled her slowly into his arms, bending slightly so that he could cover her mouth with his own. The feel of her long, delicate fingers unbuttoning his shirt had his own fingers going to the hem of her blouse. He pushed it upward, lifting it over her head with her help. She pulled his shirt off his shoulders, dropping it to the floor. He gathered her close to his body, feeling her creamy skin against his chest, reveling in how perfectly matched they were to one another. She stepped back away from him, and he feared for a moment that she was planning on rejecting him after all. But then her hands were on his belt, releasing the buckle, then unzipping his pants. He unfastened her pants too, following her example and pushing them off her hips. He had to take a deep, slow breath to stop himself from pushing her briefs off and possessing her immediately.
Bo, I need you,
she whispered. Raising her hand, she gathered her thick black hair and pulled it to the side. Turning, she presented him with her back. It did not take a second invitation for him to remove the bra. When she bent to push her briefs down her legs and remove her shoes, he did the same. In moments they were both naked. She led him to the bed and helped him pull down the covers. He straightened and truly looked at her, seeing her in all her naked glory. She was utterly flawless. Her breasts were small but perfect semi-globes with dark nipples. Her skin was creamy gold, her waist impossibly slender, widening out to broad hips. The fall of her hair, tangled, tempestuous black ringlets contrasted with her magnolia-tinted skin and drew his gaze downward to the triangle of dark curls at the apex of her thighs. For just a moment, he wondered if Parity had succeeded in having him killed. Heaven could not be any better than this moment felt. She climbed onto the bed, urging him to join her. Before he could worry about how much he should stem the passion raging inside of him, she was kissing him, matching the passion he felt inside with her own. Her lips were alive on his, her hands exploring his chest, his shoulders, his abdomen. Each kiss and caress was permission for him to reciprocate. Her body was responsive to his touch, and he marveled at the feel of her silky smooth skin as he freely explored every curve of her body. When his questing hands encountered the tight curls masking her most intimate recesses, he could feel the slick heat of her arousal. He pushed one knee between hers and then paused. He could not just take, he had to be sure she wanted this.
Emerald?
He whispered, questioning her compliance, wanting her to tell him that she was okay with his possession. Her response was not verbal. Instead, her hands curved around his hips, pulling him closer. He could not deny her unspoken demand, and in a moment they were coming together, creating a bond with one another that was eternal. This was heaven, being in Emerald's arms. He gasped in pleasure at the way her body gripped him tightly, the feel of her slick heat taking him in and surrounding him. He felt a peculiar disorienting wrench, as if his entire universe shifted focus, and he was building up a rhythm as their hearts and minds, their bodies and souls merged with each other. The sound of her sweet, beautiful voice exclaiming her pleasure was enough to bring him his own pulsing release of tension, coupled with pleasure coursing through his body. Only afterwards did the enormity of his actions settle into his heart and mind. He had barely met this woman, and followed that up by possessing her.
Where you see strength, a worthy man. You name me perfect as I am. Moved by the spirit drawing near. Your quiet courage stills my fear. No shame, no shadow to repeat. Vows sealed in the seclusion